We are going to be color grading Davinci Resolve tonight, and I hope you enjoy. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be live for. I'm just figuring out this StreamYard, even though I've used it plenty of times in the past. It has been a moment indeed. And let's just dive into it. I'm working on this project, super secret, top secret. It's for a mountain resort called Umikhalicha over here in my hometown in Kazakhstan. And I am probably about half of the way through. Let's hide the scopes. Yeah, I would say probably about a third of the way through all the shots. Let's see. There are, how do I see how many shots there are? Oh, probably right here. Yep. Okay, so just over 100 shots. So let's dive into this one that I stopped on. So I have a mixture of Blackmagic 6K cinema camera full frame B-RAW files and some old DJI Mavic 2 Air footage. Most of this was shot with the Blackmagic on the Surrey 50mm anamorphic lens with the Surrey anamorphic adapter. So the 50mm lens itself is a 1.6x squeeze, and the adapter allows it's a 1.25x extender. So it allows the 1.6x to become a true anamorphic 2x squeeze for that beautiful sort of cinescope 2.4:1 ratio that we typically see with feature films and narratives that are shot on really expensive anamorphics. This one is obviously a lot more affordable. I am not sure if there's some sort of, I look better than I usually do. There's probably some sort of filter on my face. I don't exactly know where to turn that off, but I look smoother than usual. Oh well, we'll go with it, right? Okay. So happy Monday, by the way. I think everybody in the United States is just about waking up, starting their Monday, and I'm winding down for the evening. So we'll go to this shot here. So I'll just show you what it started off with. And I'm working with a Kodak LUT, the 2383 D55 for my film emulation conversion. But in order for this drone shot to be able to use as much of the color science, as much of the color space as possible, I'm converting all of my footage into Davinci wide gamut intermediate so that I have the most optimal amount of room in my color space to be able to then convert it to Rec 709. If we're restricting ourselves to that Rec 709 color space, then we have very little room to push those colors like we would want to have the most control. And so that's why I'm taking this color space transform effect and going from Rec 709 into Davinci wide gamut and the output gamut of Davinci intermediate. So that way I can, after my color grade, take that Davinci wide gamut space back into Rec 709 with this color space transform. And if you want more information on this, I binged on a lot of Darren Mostyn's tutorials on YouTube. Just search Darren, Derren, Mostyn, Mostyn. He's got a bunch of amazing videos on his channel, and that's really what got me up to speed with Davinci color grading and a lot of the features like the cut page. Uh, Let me add this back in so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Um, and so the color space right here, I'll just show you again. It's going from Rec 709, input gamma Rec 709, gamut, wide gamut, intermediate. And then I'm taking my color grade, right? This is all the color grading. And then into another color space to take it back out to Rec 709. That's where I do my look with my orange and teal, some texture, grain, halation, a vignette, and then in this compound node, let me just show the compound node, basically another color space transform, because this Kodak LUT requires a Cineon film log output gamma, not the regular gamma 2.4 or 2.2. I'm using 2.2 just because there's a Mac specific display LUT that I'm using at the very end of my grade. So if we come back out right here, this Mac LUT is basically preventing any of the Mac screens to have my footage look washed out after the export. So this is solely for the viewer within DaVinci Resolve. And then before I export, before I actually deliver this final project, I'm going to turn this Mac LUT off on all of the clips. So let's just go through. Here we have the color space transform. I'll just turn on this look and keep my orange and teal off for now. So this is what it looks like within the DaVinci wide gamut intermediate color space. I've just thrown a simple noise reduction to help me with some of that noise. And I basically use a 2-frame temporal noise reduction, and better for the actual type, and then Luma of 7, and then Chroma of around 13, 14, and I kind of play around with this depending on the footage. Some of these drone clips were shot internally, so it's not the best resolution or best quality. Some of them are on a micro SD card. So I'm really kind of, hodgepodging together a lot of different things. And DaVinci Resolve is so powerful in that way that I can just take it and make all of the different kinds of footage work for me. And then for spatial production, again, better or enhanced, which that's really going to bog down your machine depending on what you're working with, and right around 8 or 10 for Luma and Chroma on that. Then we've got our balance and exposure mode. Basically, within the HDR color wheels, I'm just taking the exposure down slightly because it comes off, and I think there was auto exposure setting on the drone. So I'm just taking it down a little bit. And then in my color wheels and my primaries, I'm basically doing my balance and my white balance and my exposure, and just making sure that the scopes are looking good. It's kind of giving me a good starting point. Then I have my contrast node, which is very simple. Contrast slider here, and I play with the pivot just to get it to where I need it to be. So you can see what that's doing in the scopes there. It's basically changing where that contrast is happening. So if I feel like the highlights need a little bit more contrast versus the shadows, then I will play around with that. So we'll take it back. And then I have my saturation node. Now I know there are better ways to do saturation where you do an actual some sort of high pass node. You basically take just the Luma value of your footage and you feed that into your saturation curve. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I still need to watch a few tutorials to really wrap my head around it, but I just do primaries color saturation slider here, and be careful with this not to overdo it. Then I have some parallel nodes here that are basically going to be stacking on top of each other. So the way the parallel nodes work is that instead of doing this progressive um, color grade where we have our balance and exposure, and then on top of that we have the contrast, and then from that it's feeding into the saturation. Here, each of these parallel nodes actually feed they're fed from the saturation. So this sky adjustment is fed directly from saturation. And then instead of going from the sky adjustment into temperature, it goes back to the saturation and feeds the temperature node from the saturation node and everything that is combined before it. And so it's stacking it up layers like that so that you can really be careful with your adjustments in order not to be so destructive, right? It's kind of like layers within Photoshop. So then our parallel nodes get combined. I believe this is the parallel mixer node. So that just lives there. It's automatically created when you create these parallel nodes, and that's with Alt P or Option P on a Mac. Then this trim node is simply to make any kind of adjustments after I've done this basic grade, right? This basic correction of the colors. And then I just have some power windows, which I am actually at that point now. So for the trim, I just basically boosted a little the uh, shadows. So I just did a little bit of the lift here to lessen some of that contrast. So that's very, very subtle. I'm not even sure if you can see that. Then we've got our power window. So this shot here, if I just bypass the color grade by going Shift D, so Shift D is the shortcut. You can just click here. That bypasses your color grade and any fusion effects you might have. So I have fusion effects built in where there's some motion blur that is affected by the speed ramp or the retime effect, as it's called in Davinci Resolve. So right there we have a nice little drone shot where we're kind of following this electric car, this little golf cart. And then that is also combined with a little foreground wipe into the next shot, but we're only actually working on this one. So I'm going to pick this frame right here as my color grading frame. For the first power window, let's go into our window section here. Click on the circle, size it down. We can go Alt F to go into a more full screen mode. I think it's view, no, workspace. See, I learned these shortcuts, but then I forget where they actually are in the menu. Viewer mode, enhanced viewer. So Alt F is the enhanced viewer. Then if you want to go full screen, that's Command F, Alt F to go into enhanced. And then there's also full page viewer, which is Shift F. So that's very close to full screen, but in case you want to still see your scopes or anything else that you might have open. So let's get rid of our scopes because I'm just going to be working on the power window for now. All right. And looks like somebody's joined. Looks like somebody's watching. Hello, whoever you are. Drop a hi in the chat if you can see it, if you can hear me. I'd love to interact with anyone and everyone that comes across this live feed, but I'm mostly just kind of talking to myself, which is all right. So I'm going to slap this power window. We can also, holding down Command, actually, no, we can just Alt. Yeah, holding down Alt, we can scroll and zoom in so we can see what we're working with and adjust our power window to how we like it. Grab these little handles to soften it up. And now let's see how the track works. We can press Z, the letter Z, to fit the view again. It's up here, fit is Z. And go into our tracker. And we'll check off 3D because sometimes that messes with the track if we're looking for just a simple 2D track. And I'm just going to click this double arrow to track forward and back, and you can see it already messed up. But that is okay because I think I'm going to give it another try with a larger power window. So we'll click reset, size it up, maybe pick a different frame where we can see the electric car a little better. And this time, let's try going frame by frame and see. No, I think what we need to do is actually size it way down. So I decided I chose a very challenging track. Um, let's try it again for my live video. And that is how it goes sometimes, I suppose. Let's see. Oh, now it won't even zoom. We can go actual size, which is Shift Alt Z. Let's try doing a much smaller power window, and then we can size it up after we get our track. Let's see if that works. There it is. That did it. That's beautiful. Okay, so now we know. Because it was confused, it didn't know what it needs to track. The power window was too large, and this tiny little golf cart in the frame did not get it noticed. So now I'm going to go into my primaries on the same power window node and just increase my gamma. I'm basically trying to isolate this golf cart to give it more attention, right? And maybe bring up our gain slightly. And then what we can do, I've actually not used too much of my sharpening. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to be doing this correctly, but what the heck? Let's give it a go. Let's do radius. Let's see, what does that do? H and V ratio. I just want to get it a little bit sharper. Scaling. Okay, so this is probably the scale at which it's going to look to sharpen. H and V ratio. Radius. Oh, let's see. That's not really doing much. All right. Now let's make our power window much larger because I think that was probably what was the matter, because it wasn't actually affecting anything. The power window was too small. So now let's see. Oh, you know what? We are live, and I bet you have been shouting at the top of your lungs at the screen that I have my bypass grading and fusion effects bypassed. So I actually was working, but nothing was actually showing up. So Shift D, there we go. All right. And that actually helped because Shift D bypasses the fusion effects, which part of that is the motion blur that you're seeing. So without the motion blur, the tracker probably had an easier time of tracking. Shift Alt Z for actual size, Z to fit the frame. Then we'll go and take off the power window with this little drop down here. Just go off. And Command D with the node selected will help us audition what we have. And that's a little too obvious. I'm going to take the gamma way down to like 0.1. So that just gives it a nice little kiss. And go back into the power window because I want to soften it up way more. And then again, turn that off. It's still a little much. I think maybe the gain is what's causing it to be so obvious. Now, if we preview, that's just nice and subtle right there. See, it just gives it a little kiss. Okay. And now what I wanna do is just do a larger power window that's gonna be less obvious, and we'll start from right here, and actually we'll copy and paste. So we've got the tracking information all set, but this time I'm going to create a much wider breadth, kind of have that second um, attention getter. And let's see what our track looks like. Shift D to bypass. We're going to remember this time. Okay. And I think I'm okay with that power window being left. I may have to keyframe it to have it come off the screen afterwards. Shift D to get our color grade back, go into our primaries, and Command D to audition what it looks like. Let's turn off power window and Command. That is looking nice. So right there, it's just a nice little. Now, what is happening? The reason that when I audition it, it seems to be less sharp. I wonder if that's because of what I did here. So let's just, yeah. Oh, there we go. That's good. Okay. So full screen to preview that. And that doesn't look bad at all. All right. Now we've got this loop. If we wanted to keep playing, we would just go Command slash. That's where the question mark is. So Command backslash. Um, Actually, it might be forward slash. Yeah. But if we want to keep looping the shot, we would just do that. Okay. So that's looking good. We've got this foreground wipe, but we're going to address that in a little bit. What I want to do now is see what my orange and teal look is doing to the image overall. Command D. So that brings a nice subtle orange and teal look. And I learned this from a YouTuber whose name escapes me, and I wish I could recall it, but no matter. This is a simple little technique where I'm just using the curves adjustment on a separate node, and all I'm doing is I unlinked all the different channels, the Y, which is the Luma value, R, G, and B. So in each of these, I basically set a gray point where I think it is. The proper way to do this would be to actually have a gray card that you can sample, right? Or you can even create one digitally within here and then sample to be able to see where that gray point is within the color space that you're working in, right? This color grade is within the Davinci wide gamut intermediate. And that's where that gray point would be. But I basically guessed. So not the best practice, but I guessed. And then for our red curve, we just pulled up on the highlights slightly. For our blue curve, we pulled up on the shadowy side, right, on the lift, right there. And then we basically compensated with the green channel halfway in between our regular diagonal, right, our Luma value right there, it's just going straight diagonal. But our green channel is meeting between the blue point and that Luma, and then the red point and that Luma to basically compensate. And we can play around to give it a little bit more cyan or a little bit more teal, and then on this side, a little bit more of that orange, that warmer tone. And then the important step here is to take it down, right? And now I'm just watching, go Alt F to get the enhanced view, right? Enhanced. Just take it down so that as you're watching it, you can basically see. what it's doing for you. Thanks for watching. That was a little preview of my Davinci Resolve workflow. I'm going to keep cranking. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see more, if something was unclear. I'm always looking to collaborate and see what kind of value I can offer you, how I can help, uh, with everything that I'm learning and documenting along the way. Here's to your next story, and I hope you follow along with mine. Hit subscribe, hit like, or tell me what you didn't like in the comments. I read every I read every comment, I promise. All right. Have a wonderful day. Happy Monday. Happy week. Go out there and crush. Do it. Let's go. There's absolutely no excuses. This is the time. The time is now. So go out there and get that bread. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.